Sean Galel get very close. Now, what sort of commitment do they have through Eau Rouge actually to free saying that Huon is a more interesting... Oh, there's a big crash there. There's a car who lost it. Car has lost it on the way in. Oh, no. Oh, that's a horrible accident.
Jeez, I hope that kid's good. Okay.
The legendary Lewis Hamilton stood there, absolutely speechless, his mind racing after what he had just witnessed. The Belgian Grand Prix under the bright sunny skies started like any other, but for some, this weekend would forever be marked by an unspoken silence. The Formula One weekend began with a special twist. Charles Leclerc claimed pole position, now just within arm's reach of his first Grand Prix victory. But Leclerc wasn't the only one with a shot at glory. His childhood friend, Antoine Hubert, was also on the grid. Right after Formula One's qualifying session, the Formula 2 race kicked off, and Hubert was among the drivers in that high-stakes battle. Back in 2019, Hubert had dazzled in Formula 2, emerging as a standout rookie. He had claimed 2 stunning sprint race victories, one on the iconic streets of Monaco, the other on home turf in France just a week later. Both victories held deep personal meaning for Leclerc, and they were tied not only by the thrill of competition, but by a bond of friendship. Since their childhood days, Leclerc, Hubert, Pierre Gasly, and George Russell had raced together, rising through the ranks side by side, pushing each other to new heights. The press often buzzed with headlines about a power struggle between Hubert and Gasly. But the truth was, they weren't just rivals, they were kids chasing the same dream, growing together and bound by an unbreakable bond. Looking at where they all stood now, it seemed like they were all destined for greatness. Antoine might not have been labelled a prodigy, but he was undeniably improving with every season. And in 2019, he showed the world just how far he had come. Now, Belgium was his moment, the chance to prove he was ready for Formula One. But fate had other plans. He didn't qualify near the front, securing just 13th place. Yet, Hubert remained calm and confident, determined to show everyone what he was truly capable of.
Let's go to one of our rookie winners this year, Antoine Hubert. What about the atmosphere around this circuit, Antoine? You seem to be loving life here on the truck.
Yeah, of course, Spa is always nice. Just saw a few French flags, so obviously really nice, really enjoying it.
This was a feature race, meaning it would take place right after qualifying for the F1 Belgium Grand Prix, adding an extra layer of excitement and pressure for everyone on the grid. When the green flag dropped, it was all or nothing. By the end of the first lap, Antoine had already gained a position, and it seemed like he was on track to make his move, chasing his dream with everything he had.
Everything is amazing here, the fans, the place, the track itself, everything is nice. So I'm really enjoying it, really happy every year to come back to Spa. And now let's try to have a good race and enjoy it even more.
On lap 2, oh, there's a big crash, a car's gone off, oh, that's a horrible accident. Lewis Hamilton could barely contain his shock, his voice trembling with disbelief. He couldn't believe what he was witnessing, something no one ever expects to see. Both Antoine Hubert and Juan Manuel Correa were rushed to the medical center. In those critical moments, it was a fight for survival. Correa underwent 3 surgeries and thankfully was stabilized. But for Antoine Hubert, just over an hour later, the news hit like a ton of bricks. A French racing driver, Antoine Hubert, had been killed in a Formula 2 crash at the Belgian Grand Prix. On August 31st, 2019, Antoine Hubert left this earth.
A French racing driver, Antoine Hubert, has been killed in a Formula 2 crash at the Belgian Grand Prix.
His bright future and untold potential extinguished far too soon. Just like that, one of the most promising stories in Formula One had ended forever. It was a brutal, painful reminder of the risks every driver faces each time they climb into a car. Antoine Hubert, chasing his dreams, tragically lost his life in a sport that has worked tirelessly to make itself safer with every passing year. Yet, in that moment, it served as a stark reminder, in motorsport anything can happen.
I was speaking to a driver at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and by 9:30 p.m. I was lifting his coffin.
It was lap 2. Eau Rouge. The nightmare began when Giuliano Alessi lost control of his car. At over 300 kilometers per hour, his car slammed into the barriers, bouncing off and scattering debris across the track. Ralph Beauchamp swerved to avoid the wreckage, but just behind him, Antoine Hubert had no time to react. At full speed, Hubert's car clipped Beauchamp's, sending him crashing hard into the tire wall. The impact was brutal, but the nightmare was far from over. Hubert's car rebounded back onto the track, right into the path of Juan Manuel Correa. Correa, already struck by debris, had lost control. He collided with Hubert at over 200 kilometers per hour. The force was devastating. The damage to Hubert's body was catastrophic. Severe thoracic trauma, massive internal bleeding, multiple fractures. Just 90 minutes later, Antoine Hubert was gone. Why was this crash so deadly? It all happened at Eau Rouge, one of the most dangerous corners in all of motorsport. The elevation shift at Eau Rouge plays with the car's downforce. One moment, the car is stuck to the track, the next, it's airborne. Any sudden movement at these speeds can send a car into disaster. That's why the FIA later introduced changes to alter the track forever. But more on that later. For now, the drivers were focused on preparing for the race ahead. Everyone in the paddock loved Antoine. But now, on that Sunday, they still had a race to finish. But no one felt the weight of the moment more than Charles Leclerc, who had lost his lifelong friend, Antoine Hubert. They grew up together, raced side by side, and shared the same dream. But in the blink of an eye, that dream was shattered. Hubert was gone. Leclerc had just secured the third pole position of his career, but his first two had ended in crushing disappointment. The pressure on him was unbearable. But imagine for a moment what it must have felt like to be in Leclerc's shoes. He had already faced unimaginable loss on the track. In 2014, his godfather, Jules Bianchi, tragically passed away. And now, just as he was on the verge of the biggest opportunity of his life, he had lost his childhood friend. Yet, where many of us would have crumbled, Leclerc turned that unimaginable grief into laser-sharp focus.
And for the first time ever, Charles Leclerc wins a Formula One Grand Prix!
When the green light flashed, Leclerc drove with everything he had. Every ounce of his heart poured into every corner, every turn. He fended off a relentless Hamilton, each lap filled with emotion and purpose. In the end, he claimed his first Formula One victory. After the race, with tears in his eyes, an emotional Leclerc dedicated his triumph to Antoine Hubert.
Yes.
Well done.
First victory in F1. This one is for Antoine. Feels good, but yeah, difficult to enjoy on a weekend like this. But thanks for everything, guys. You're the best. A dream come true anyway.
Leclerc carried the inspiration of his fallen friend with him, going on to win once again the very next weekend, securing his second Formula One victory in a row, a tribute to Antoine in every lap. Pierre Gasly, who was part of their close-knit group of friends, was perhaps Antoine's closest companion. Gasly made sure to honor his friend's memory every year in Belgium, placing flowers at the corner where Antoine tragically lost his life.
Last year, I got moved from Red Bull to Toro Rosso, and then Antoine passed away that same weekend. It was the hardest moment of my life. He was such a close friend. Since we are little kids, we had the same life goal. He wanted as much as I wanted to be in Formula One.
Gasly kept pushing himself harder than ever, channeling Antoine's spirit with every race. He reached the podium and then, in a moment of pure emotion, he won his first Grand Prix with Alfa Romeo, a win that meant so much more than just a victory. As Gasly looked to the skies, there was no mistaking who he was thinking about. Everyone knew who he was pointing to. Every year in Antoine's honor, Gasly continues to organize the race for his friend. The loss of Antoine Hubert sent shockwaves through the entire Formula One community, a tragedy that forced the sport to face uncomfortable truths and evolve. The FIA understood that change was necessary. One of the most pressing concerns was debris. A minor crash could quickly escalate into a deadly chain reaction, turning a small incident into a catastrophic event. To combat this, the FIA increased the use of tethers, not just for the wheels but also for front and rear wings, drastically reducing the risk of flying debris causing secondary impacts. However, the most crucial lesson from Antoine's fatal accident was the importance of impact absorption. Unlike most crashes, Antoine wasn't struck head-on or from behind. He was hit from the side, where the car was most vulnerable. In response, the FIA knew drastic changes were necessary. They mandated increased side and frontal cockpit strength, ensuring drivers could withstand even higher impact forces. But they didn't stop there. The FIA introduced more measures, changes to front-wheel design and enhanced in-car notification systems, giving drivers real-time data on tire pressure and hazardous track conditions. This critical information could help prevent another disaster like the one that claimed Antoine's life. And then there was Eau Rouge, the turn that had stolen him away from us. To make the track safer, the FIA expanded runoff areas and added gravel traps, specifically designed to slow cars down and prevent the kind of deadly rebound that had sealed Hubert's fate. It was a painful lesson, one that ultimately reshaped Formula One's safety protocols forever. These changes didn't just protect drivers, they saved lives. Take Romain Grosjean's terrifying crash during the 2020 Bahrain Grand Prix as an example. The improvements made after Hubert's tragic accident proved their worth. The fire and impact that could have claimed Romain's life were stopped by the very changes that were set in motion after Hubert's death. Antoine Hubert was not just another driver, he was a competitor, a fighter, a dreamer. Though his life was tragically cut short, his legacy lives on in the sport he loved. The changes that were made to keep drivers safe will always stand as a testament to him. This one is for Antoine.